You're listening to Future Radio 107.8 FM. I'm Russell Turner, and this is the sound of the suburbs. I also have a special guest in the studio today for the next 2 hours. It's Elliot.
Hello. Oh, I'm not on.
No, you're not.
I forgot.
Sorry. There you are. You're on now.
I was playing with some wires, and I shouldn't have unplugged that, should I? Oh, dear.
No, it wasn't.
Leave it alone.
No, I could say it was entirely your fault. In fact, it was entirely my fault because I hadn't put your fader up.
Okay, so I was being very British and middle class, saying, my fault, I did that, I should have been sticking that biro in there, and I did. I was enjoying myself, discovering what you can do. So please don't press the red button.
Big red button.
Don't press it.
Don't press the big red button.
Hello, Russell.
Hello, Elliot.
That's how we start most conversations nowadays.
Yeah, well, no, given that, your name's Elliot and my name's Russell, this is...
Yeah. I've thought sometimes about changing my name.
To what?
Well, not to what. That'd be confusing. What? Hello, what? No, changing. When my wife got married to me, yes, and her last name, and I was gonna take her name.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's quite fun. But then what she's done, she's left her. She's now got her name. It confuses people. Elliot Stewart. She's not Mrs. Stewart.
No,
I can say she's Mrs. Black. Like that.
Because that's
so people, all the teachers who come and meet me and how's my little boy and everything like that, and basically they don't know what to call me. They go, Mr. Stewart Black, and they're awkward. They don't know whether anything has happened. Russell is now coughing a lot. I don't know if you could hear that. I like the fact that you brought the microphone down. You're allowed to. I think we're allowed to cough live on it. Shall I give it a go?
Go on.
Okay, here we go. Okay. That wasn't me. That was a professional. No,
that was a professional cougher.
Yeah, I have a stunt cougher who comes in and does that for me, like a fluffer, but much higher up. I can't believe I just said that, and hopefully you don't know what that means.
And if you do, don't tell your children.
Yes. Anyway, hello, Russell.
I love you. See, it's been 3 months since you've been on. Well, what have you been up to in the last 3 months?
I managed to avoid you, but unfortunately, here we are. And what have I been up to? Trying to get things sorted comically.
Okay, cool.
Basically, hanging around the BBC, lingering there, saying, will you do this sketch? And they go, yes, and then they slightly change it, and then they put it out, and I go, yeah, that's kind of interesting. So basically, and then trying to wheedle my way into Future Radio, so I managed to do a little People's Playlist.
Oh, sure.
And also, I'm professional, because I didn't pop then. I go People's Playlist. Oh, I didn't. These are very good microphones, aren't they? They got a special unpopping bit on them.
Well, yeah, I mean, they don't have the shield. They don't have the popping shield in front of them.
Because the closer I get, if I go People's Playlist, it still doesn't pop. That's great. I'm going to practice that while you put a record on. I'm going to try and see if I can pop from vast distances. It's quite good.
Okay, well, in which case we will put the first record on after someone said, and it's one of yours, because Elliot's brought a few tracks into play today, and there'll be a selection of stuff that I wouldn't normally play on this show.
Last time it was Genesis. I managed to get him to play early Genesis. Never forgiven for me. That's why we haven't seen each other for 3 months. So you made me Peter Gabriel. Peter Gabriel.
I know. I've been crying in my bedroom ever since. No, this is not early Genesis. This is the Bonzo Dog Doodah Band. So it's called the Equestrian Statue. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about this track when you finish drinking your water.
It's quite good.
Okay, that's good.
The water's good. The song, can I tell you about it afterwards?
Yeah, we'll tell you about... Elliot will, because I know nothing about it, but Elliot will tell you about the song afterwards.
A hook to draw you in.
Indeed. The Bonzo Dog Doodah Band, the Equestrian Statue. I apologise for the fact that was jumping all over the place.
Maybe it was me dancing along, and I was basically just making my toe caps hit the ground, and maybe it was making the music jump. I don't know.
Maybe so, or maybe it was just the CD jumping.
Okay, but now people can't envision me leaping around.
Well, they can still envisage it. Envisage it.
They can do whatever they like when they imagine me dancing. I do have an HND in contemporary dance, so it's true. I do. I can do some of it. I'm doing some of it now.
Yes, live on radio. Yes. Well, so anyway, I'm just. You might hear some sounds. This is me swapping CD things.
The sound you can hear is Russell.
It's tech
adjusting his equipment.
Adjusting my equipment.
There you go.
Anyway, so the Equestrian Statue. Please tell us something about that.
Well, it's definitely a track from the Bonzo Dog Doodah album, possibly their first album. I'm not sure. It's called Gorilla, the whole album, and it's dedicated to Kong, who was probably a great guy. That's what they put that on the back of the album for some reason, which confused me because when I was about 13, going, so it's an album about the jungle. No, it isn't. It's just Bonzo's collection of sort of psychedelic pop and sort of jazz standards and peculiar things. And that particular song, many Christmases ago, me and my brother and our family used to dress up and do little shows for when we were like 7 or 8 or 9. And this was one of the things that my dad dressed up and pretended to be a statue to. He would leap around and probably embarrass himself silly.
So your dad pretended to be the equestrian statue?
Yeah. And I ended up singing this to my little boy as a nursery rhyme lullaby thingy. And but I discovered an interesting thing about statues. Can I say a very short, long anecdote?
Go for it.
Okay, here we go. Well, what's his name? Innes. Illness?
Innes. You know it's Innes.
I know, but I always think it sounds more punky. Like Sid Vicious and him, illness. He's quite sick, like the kids say. But he was telling me, he said, it's normal. I'll be normal now. Basically, the idea of that song came about when he was sitting around in Liverpool reading a book, Jean-Paul Sartre, Nausea, and he was quite sick of the book and he didn't like it because there was something about a lamppost and someone thinking about a lamppost very deeply. And Neil sort of thought, well, to the lamppost, what about that statue over there? And that inspired him to think about a statue leaping around and doing exciting things because it was sending him messages. And actually, statues like that do send you messages. I don't know if you've drunk some local cider or any other naughty narcotic, but if you look at a horse statue, if you look at the hoofs, they're telling you something. It's true. Shall I tell you what it is?
Go, what are they telling you?
No, this is a real fact. It's not made. All right, what are they telling you, Elliot? What complete nonsense are you going to say then? Oh, right, okay.
No, please. I'm fascinated. This is my fascinated face.
Oh dear, right. Okay, so perfect for radio. His fascinating face. It's a very glamorous chap. But basically, the hooves of the statue, if they are up in the air, it means something. If they're down on the ground, it means something. So basically, if you've got 2 hoofs up in the air, if you're an equestrian statue, it means that the person riding died in battle. If only 1 hoof is up in the air, they got injured in battle. If both hoofs, all the feet, are down on the ground, they got injured or killed before they got to the battle. So they were like a clumsy warrior. So
but what happens if they survived the battle quite happily and lived to old age?
Then I don't know. Is it like a statue that's hovering?
Okay,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or it's standing on one leg, or standing.
Or they've got a smirk on their face.
Yes, or the horse is going. That sort of thing. Or the horse is balanced on a different part of its body. I don't know. So on its tail.
So that's a fact about equestrian statues. I'm going to have to check that out later.
It's true.
I'm sure it is true.
It's true that I just told you. I can't guarantee that it's the truth.
I'd like to find out what happens when they didn't die in battle and lived happily to old age.
Yeah.
Anyway, talking of equestrian statues, that's horses. Mm-hmm. And Horses, of course, an album by Patti Smith. And I'm going to bang on for many times. I went to see Patti Smith, Nick Cave and others at Victoria Park in London, all points east, a couple of weeks ago.
Were they on horseback?
No, they weren't on horseback.
Okay.
And that, of course, with Patti Smith, with Land, the Land trilogy from Horses. And we were playing that after Elliot I played on behalf of Elliot, the equestrian statue, and we then ended up discussing the iconography of equestrian statues.
Yes, because I basically came in here thinking I had true facts about my fingertips about horse statues, and it turns out you're about to say
it's an urban legend. Apparently,
bunkum.
Because it's on Wikipedia, and what Wikipedia says, as we know, is always true. He lied, but this is from Hoof Position Symbolism in the equestrian statue article.
Is that a great name for a band, or a great name for an album?
It's great, and also from something from the Kama Sutra. I don't know. It says in the United States and the UK, an urban legend states that the horse is rearing with both legs in the air, front legs in the air. The rider died in battle. One front leg up means the rider was wounded in battle or died of battle wounds. And if all 4 hooves on the ground, the rider died outside the battle. Now, it gives lists of statues that follow this, but it then gives a whole list of statues, particularly in the United States, which do not follow this. So,
but are we looking into what happened to the horse?
Well, as you said,
maybe the horse got injured and survived to tell the tale or something.
Yes, as I said on the way out, straight from the horse's mouth.
Yes,
so ka-ching.
Is there money involved in this? You mean because you made a ka-ching noise? That's money.
Oh, I always say ka-ching. I know it should be ba-dum.
We both said they're going. What can we like that? Yes,
So-
I don't like doing repeated jokes about drums because they might have repercussions.
Oh,
That's my one drum joke.
your one drum joke.
Yes.
Well, anyway, I'm going to play another track.
Okie dokie.
Now, we're going to play Elliot's next track now. So this track is called, let me read it off my sheet of paper.
Yes.
A Day in the Life of Red 5 by Palette Swap Ninja. Or Palette Swap
So
Ninja.
that doesn't reveal anything. But if you are a big Star Wars fan, or even a little Star Wars fan, Red 5 is one of the pilots that goes along and attacks the Death Star. Huge spoilers, blows it up. I think they destroyed several Death Stars in Star Wars. I think at least 3 or 4 if you include... No, 3? I'd sit there being all nerding out. Let me think about this. But yes, so this is from an album called Princess Leia's Stolen Death Star Plans, which is like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. No, it isn't what it is, because but a whole album is the Sgt. Pepper Beatles album, but all about Star Wars. So the songs all become, chronologically, all about the Star Wars story, from what R2's doing to what Luke Skywalker's doing. And this is the big finale of
This is a day in the
life.
Their version of A Day in the Life.
But with all Star Warsy things.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
this sounds bonkers.
It's good.
And I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet.
Yeah.
So, in fact, I haven't had a chance to listen to anything on it. So it's all... This is as much as a surprise from you as it is for me. When I say you, I mean people out there.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
No, I've got a good feeling. Well, that was different. That was...
There you go.
that was, yeah, that was...
I was doing 2 impressions then. I was pretending to be like a rebel fighter, and also at the Paul McCartney bit, you might have seen me. I was doing my little Paul McCartney.
he was doing his Paul McCartney impression. Anyway, the band's called Palette Swap Ninja.
Yeah.
And what was the album called?
Well, the whole album's called, what's it called? Princess Leia's Stolen Death Star Plans.
Indeed.
I'm
And
doing my Paul McCartney now. You know.
And
I'm not saying it's not a good album. I'm just saying, this whole album is about Star Wars. And it's quite
Indeed,
good,
indeed, it's their reinterpretation of
Yeah.
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band
Yeah.
in the style of Star Wars, and that was A Day in the Life of Red 5. I haven't introduced you for the second quarter of the show, for those of people who've just joined us.
That wasn't Paul McCartney. That was Elliot Stewart, and this is still me, Elliot Stewart.
It's still Elliot Stewart,
Yeah.
who's my guest on today's show.
It might be Paul McCartney doing an impression of Elliot Stewart right now.
If I had Paul McCartney in the studio, I'd be making money.
Okay.
In some weird way by taking
I don't want to
photos.
know how you're making money with Paul McCartney in your imagination going, obviously know what Macca likes. You're doing an exotic dance going, here, have a $5. Fantastic. There you go.
Well, no, yeah, I'll take a $5 and then sell the photos to a national newspaper.
Okay,
because that's the kind of mercenary person that I am.
I'm hoping he's still alive now we're doing this.
Oh, so am
the
I,
last
you
person
think?
I did an impression of died.
During the impression?
It was, no, well, I'm not going to do it now, but stop doing Paul McCartney now. I'd had a whole range of all my impression people tend to pop off because my impressions are quite old. So I did Brucey, and then he obviously passed away. But it was David Bowie. We had this whole David Bowie sketch a few years ago, live on radio. And it was just a little tiny sketch, and it improvised into different things about how bad our impressions were. We had the lawyers in all throughout the show. Following week, passed away.
Bowie dies.
There you go. So my Theresa May impression is not coming out, or for balance, my Jeremy Corbyn, or for whoever's running the Liberals right now. I don't know.
Vince Cable.
They go, oh, he's all right. I met him twice.
Have you met Vince
He's all
Cable?
right. I didn't recognise him the second time. That was really embarrassing.
Because he made such an impression on you the first time.
No, he recognised me, but I didn't recognise him. Yeah, basically, he came knocking on the door saying, vote for me, and I had a big rant at him about what he may or may not have done with the Tories and whatnot. Other political parties are available. And basically, second time he came knocking on my door, and first thing I saw was that yellow little thing, like a little, whatever it's a little... Rosette. And I said, oh, it's funny, because actually, Vince Cable came around, like, I am Vince Cable. Oh, hello, sorry, I didn't recognise. They're not feeding you, because he looked thinner then.
Oh, well,
there you go.
Yeah.
And I've got a song about him on SoundCloud, all about Vince Cable. I should have brought that with me.
Yeah, I've got a Reckless Eric anecdote. For those who don't know me, I know Reckless Eric vaguely, and he's got a brilliant anecdote. Anecdote about when he met Mo Molam, the former Northern Ireland secretary. She's apparently a brilliant person, but I can't say the anecdote live on there because
you can demonstrate it.
Yeah, no.
Draw me a picture.
Yeah, no. You wouldn't want me to draw you a picture of this particular anecdote.
Okay,
but it was highly amusing. Anyway, I don't know why I brought that up because I've just teased you with it. Anyway, I'm going to cover my embarrassment. I'm going to go to the next song, and this is a song that's whilst listening to that previous version of A Day in the Life of Red 5 or homage to. Yes, indeed, it was The Prisoner.
I recognised it. That was Patrick McGowan.
That's Just Give 'Em Whiskey.
By Patrick McGowan just then.
It was, and he's already dead, isn't he, I think?
Oh dear. So, well, maybe it'll have the reverse effect if I do
Bring
it.
back to life.
Get people back to life, dear. You never know. Do we not like him? Do you know who that is?
Yeah, that's Bruce Springsteen.
The Bruce Springsteen.
Yes, Bruce Forsyth.
I was born to run. That's right. But no, sorry, I'm just...
Yeah. Anyway, that was Colourbox, Just Give 'Em Whiskey, which was a kind of mash-up of The Prisoner and Westworld and other stuff.
Have you seen the new Westworld?
I haven't, not yet, no, I haven't.
It's very different. It's very interesting. It's this whole thing of like, they keep doing stuff on Netflix and saying, let's reboot this thing that wasn't very well rebooted before. So like Westworld, there was a sequel to it called Future World, and it wasn't very good. And Lost in Space, the 90s version of that, wasn't that great. And now, more recently, they've done a remake of that and currently...
Yeah, I know, but I hear it's very good.
It is, on the edge of my seat. We're watching it, and also the remake of Monkey was supposedly... People thought it was rubbish, and I watched it, and I was like, actually, this is not as good as the original, but I'm quite intrigued to see where we're going with that. There was lots of twists, and I recommend The New Legends of Monkey.
Well, I'll check that out. It's also because we were talking about The Prisoner. I'm surprised because they tried to reboot The Prisoner, didn't they, with that bloody awful single series thing.
It was... They made it more normal,
They're stuck in the desert in the States.
Yeah.
But perhaps Netflix ought to get their hands on The Prisoner and reboot it.
Well, I still think they should... I know they've done several different versions of it. They should try... Because I watched the Dirk Gently on Netflix, and that was rather good. They did an American series of that, 2 series, and it was very peculiar in a homage or a style of Douglas Adams' work. And I think they could do Hitchhikers again. I know the movie wasn't great. I know, and the TV show and the radio series is the best.
The radio series is by far the best version of it.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. I'd love to see, because they did such a good job with Dirk Gently. I think you could try and start it from the middle or move it around. But for me, unfortunately, Arthur Dent will always be... I've forgotten who he is now.
The actor. The guy on the radio.
He's amazing. And when they recast it as that guy who's in everything now...
Martin Freeman.
Who's lovely, but his performance in it is a bit squeaky and a bit...
Well, yeah. I must admit, I'm not a huge fan of Martin Freeman. I don't know... I've got nothing against him personally. It's just...
I didn't like The Hobbit.
He was all right in The Hobbit. He was all right in The Office.
Sherlock.
He was all right in Sherlock. It's kind of he's all right, and it's kind of like Fargo's in the first series of Fargo. And
because they turned that into it. That was a film.
And the first. I haven't seen the third series yet. The second series in particular was brilliant. First series was good, but Martin Freeman, and it's kind of like, oh right, you're all right, but why have they? Martin Freeman's English. Why have they hired this English actor to play an American when there are plenty of capable American actors?
He shows up in a lot of Marvel movies with an American accent, in the same way that Ewan McGregor keeps showing up with his, hello, I speak like this. And why are you talking like that? You've got a perfectly cool Scottish accent.
I know.
And he suddenly, because he played Obi-Wan Kenobi with the, you're banished because you are clumsy. It's all impressions today, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, or something like that. I'm making a bad impression. And basically, but now every film that Ewan McGregor is in, could you do that funny British accent, please, Ewan? And it's like, but he's got a wonderful, he was great in Moulin Rouge. So I think he's rather...
Oh, no, he was great in Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
It was. This is true. Sorry, I'm just thinking, because I'm looking at the time and working out, because I've got one more track of yours to play in the first half, and I need to fit another track in. So
Okie dokie.
So, tell me something amusing while I look for...
Oh, right, okay.
I'll just rather put you on the spot.
I don't have any tattoos on my body.
Okay, that's cool.
But I've noticed that a lot of people in Norwich, since I've moved back, have. In fact, it's ridiculous. I think people are being tattooed in their sleep. I think they're falling, because it's probably quite gentle and they can't really feel anything. And basically, everybody I know where I work and keep bumping... Have you got tattoos on your body?
I do have. I have a small tattoo on my right shoulder that me and a mate did when we were very, very drunk.
Yes.
With a pen and ink when we were about 18.
Because there's a biro there. We could have a matching pair. But
yeah, no, don't, please.
Yes, my lovely wife has a tattoo with my son's name about her body, somewhere quite visible and everything. And so why don't you go and do it? So it'd be a bit matching jumpers, to be honest. And that'd be weird to have a picture of jumpers as but I was wandering along and I saw someone with what appeared to be a tattoo of a child on her back.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, oh, isn't that a bit... Oh, my goodness, imagine you're that child and all you can see is like, hi, Mum, oh, there's me. Or perhaps something tragic happened to the child. I don't know. But I'd never really thought of getting a tattoo at all, and if I should, if I was forced to get a tattoo, I don't know, maybe like a tiny dot that you wouldn't notice there, or I always thought about this. If you could get tattoos that basically your partner would have a weird tattoo that which was a weird shape, you wouldn't know what it was, and you have an equally weird shape, but you put them together and it spells out something.
Yeah, no, that would be good. I like that.
So it wasn't amusing, but it was sort of factual.
That was good.
Going on a tangent.
I found something to play.
Okay.
From the album Daydream Nation, apropos of something that we were talking about earlier. This is Sonic Youth and Eric's Trip. And you said that reminded you of The Fall a bit.
It was a little bit Fall-esque, wasn't it? I could hear him sort of like doing sort of weird noises over talking, and that sort of that Marky Smith did very well, and he was very cool. What did the E stand for?
Edward.
Oh, okay. I was kind of hoping it was going to be something more exciting than that.
Like Endeavour in Morse or something.
You never know, yes.
But no, that of course, happily brings us on to your next track.
Oh, yes, a nice tenuous link to that, which is one of the first ever Fall tracks I ever heard. I did end up purchasing I Am Curious Orange on cassette many years later, so chronologically, I heard the past later. But this is, Free Range by The Fall, and I rather like this one. I had the big vinyl 12-inch of it, and I used to play it all the time.
Did you ever see them did the Curious Orange dancing with Matthew What's-His-Face?
No, I don't know what that is.
No, it turned into a ballet.
Oh, that's what the pictures are.
I'm Curious Orange was originally written, I think, as part of a ballet, so it's got an interesting composition.
On the album, it was like what they call it, like a cassette thing. You open up, and there were pictures of ballet. So now that all makes sense. A massive cheeseburger and them standing on it.
And there we go. It was all very odd. So this is taking us up to the news. This is The Fall and Free Range. But before we start anything, I'm going to reintroduce my guest in the studio today. That's Elliot Stewart. Hello, Elliot.
Hello, I am Elliot Stewart. I'll be your Elliot Stewart for the rest of this show. Later on, who knows where the evening will take us? Obviously, Norwich, because that's where I live.
Oh, yeah, thinking about the evening will take us, this is something I'd forgotten about. I'm going to give a plug for a show I'm in this evening.
A shameless plug.
An absolutely shameless plug.
Yeah.
The Intellectual Hooligans improv troupe, whatever you want to call it, I will be performing with them at Bar Marzano's in the Forum tonight.
Wow, and what time?
That's 7:30 for 8.
And how much is it? Is it free?
It is free.
So people can't ask for their money back?
No, can't ask for their money back. No. Absolutely. It's one of the beauties. But there will be a bucket pass round for charity.
And how long is it?
Good question. Probably lasts till about 10, something like that.
And it starts at?
7:30, as I just said.
You've got to reiterate stuff.
I've got to reiterate. It's all right, doors at 7:30, as they say, for an 8 o'clock kickoff. Probably last a couple of hours.
Now, obviously, it's improv, but you can't tell us what's going to happen because you don't know.
Because I've no idea.
What sort of games get played?
Well, all the usual ones. He said very vaguely.
Keep it vague.
I mean, Party Quirks gets played, taglines, Author's Nightmare.
What's that one?
Actor's Nightmare.
Actor's Nightmare.
That's the one with where somebody's got a script.
Oh, I see. Like one person has a script and other people don't.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and various ones. There you go. I only did this 2 weeks ago. I did a whole thing at the Manor Market 2 weeks ago.
It's exciting. It's fresh, and you don't know what's going to happen.
You've got no idea what's going to happen.
It's good, isn't it?
There's usually a lot of swearing.
Oh, right. Okay.
Not a lot of swearing.
I won't say demonstrate it now.
No, I won't. But I say a lot of swearing. There's usually swearing. So if that's the kind of thing that offends you, don't come.
Oh, right. Okay, I didn't know that.
Anyway, that's enough of that shameless plug. Now on to Elliot's brought along a few tracks. We played some in the first hour, and I'm going to play some more of them in the second hour. And so this next one we've got is New Order. Yeah,
again, earlier on I played the first Fall track I'd ever heard, and this was the first New Order track I'd ever heard, even though I think I was a bit late to the New Order party, as in I think by 88 True Faith had already happened, and Blue Monday had already happened, and all the other ones had happened. Yeah. And this one was kind of like, I liked the when I first heard it, it's just lots of peculiar noises. So again, it was a bit like hearing The Fall for the first time, going, oh, this is not like a normal tune, and that sort of drew me in quite a bit of going, I want to hear what more of these people have done. So this is Fine Time. And I think there's a little bit of an electronic sheep at the end, and I don't know why.
We'll listen out for the electronic sheep. This is New Order and Fine Time.
I'm concerned that maybe the song is about, I don't know, being romantic with a sheep or dressing up as a sheep and I don't know. But suddenly,
it's called Fine Time.
Fine Time. Yeah, I'm a bit bored. I'll go and find a sheep. No. I mean, other animals are available. No, they're not. No way. Not without consent. This is getting really
carry on digging.
I'm just digging myself into a hole.
So you said you brought that on 12-inch. Orange.
I did. I had that back in, I want to say 1988. But one of the many songs that nowadays you can sort of like, oh, how did that song go? And you can find it on YouTube or some other way. And I had that on 12-inch, and I bought it for like 99p when it came out. And then back in time, I get confused now, but back in the 90s when I first met you, I was just selling all my vinyl off to make money. And that was like, I don't know, I sold it for about £10, but I'm pretty sure that I saw it in the window the following week for like 35 quid.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, they've got to make money. They're not going to buy off you for a tenner and sell it for a tenner, are they?
Yeah, but I think what I can't understand is coming back to Norwich after 15 years and all these record and DVD and video exchanges are somehow still open and have the same thing in the window. And I think they're all a front. I don't think, how are they still here when there's like Amazon and other things and eBay still exist? Because people do like to wander in and buy stuff, but but the same stock's still there, so no one's buying it.
There's enough vinyl heads still left who want to browse and want to buy.
I like to, yeah.
Yeah, I've got a lot of vinyl, but I don't possess a deck at the moment. So,
know what to get you for Christmas?
Yeah, get
little record player.
Well, I have actually. I say I don't have a deck. I have one of those vinyl to MP3 converters.
Ooh.
But it's a bit. Well, it's not bad. But what I, of course, failed to factor in when I thought, right, I'll convert all my vinyl into MP3, is that you have to do it in real time. And frankly, I haven't got enough time.
I used to have, I don't know if you can call it a ghetto blaster now, a big tape...
A boombox.
Boombox. And it had a little blue button. So if you wanted to, this is back in 86, so I'm admitting to this now, if you wanted to make a copy of an album and lend it to someone, not making any money at all back in 86...
Of course, yes.
That you could do that, but it would take real time. But if you pressed the little blue button, it would speed it up. So one thing would go, the whole deck would go really, really fast.
So the cassette would...
But what you could do, if you wanted to record yourself, because usually they had a microphone, you could press the blue button and your voice would be speeded up like this, and it'd be hilarious. So there was very few things to do in the 80s that were that exciting as hearing your voice speed up, or indeed, if you spoke incredibly slowly, and it speeded up and suddenly your voice would sound... I had quite an experimental life in the 80s. Yeah, I'm bored, I live in Suffolk, what can I do? I'll just stick my finger in there and see what happens.
I'm sorry, yeah, I'm going to have to think about this because I've heard some great stuff speeded up and slowed down, but I can't remember what it is. I think there was one with... is it Dolly Parton slowed down? Sounds like...
it's good.
Sounds like... what's his face? He did Old Man River.
Yeah, it's... Jolene. Her version of that slowed down. It's not like Nick Cave, but it's very close.
No, it's like... who's the name of the guy who did Old Man River?
Oh, yes, him.
Anyway, I'm going to use the internet in a minute after this song to find out who it was who sang Old Man River. But you're right, it's Jolene Slowed Down. So, this next song, for the final time, I'm going to bang on about this gig I went to at Victoria Park 2 weeks ago, which is brilliant. And, Patti Smith played, Nick Cave played, Nick Cave played, a whole other load of really good stuff played. And one of the bands who played were this lot, Japanese noise rockers, Boningen, and this is Henken.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. I just looked at you
as if I'm suddenly going to know about them. I go, well, yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Henkin are good friends of mine. They obviously pop down to the shop sometimes, and when I don't feel like it, and they get me some Doritos and everything. I'm just making up stuff now. I don't know about this band. Why look at me? I don't know who these people are.
I just thought I'd put you on the
music
spot.
You play means nothing to me. No, it's quite nice. Who was that again?
That was Boningen. They're a kind of Japanese noise rock, acid rock group. They're based in fact, they all live in London. They all met in London. They're all Japanese.
Yes.
So there you go.
Okay, I've lived in London, and I'm not Japanese, and I've never played. I've never been in a punk band. But what was that punk though?
Some people call it. I'd call it noise rock, but I mean, you can call it what the hell you like.
Yeah, I think so. We wouldn't.
Yeah, because boxes are made for dismantling.
Oh,
man.
Right. Yeah. Okay, yes. Music shouldn't be restricted by sort of like a cage of indifference. It should be
bourgeois concerts.
Yeah. Other political things are also available.
They are. I just like saying the words bourgeois concerts. All right, we're going to go on your next track. This is the Goodies.
Yes, and this is not going to be... careful how I say this, Funky Gibbon. It's not that.
It's not going to be Funky Gibbon, or indeed Black Pudding Bertha.
No, or in between.
Cricklewood.
Or Cricklewood Shakedown. I'm a bit of a nervous. This is from their first album, which I think was called The World of the Goodies, or The Goodies Sing Songs from the Goodies. And I believe this is called Taking You Back. And it's basically a little bit... I might have snuck in some... I don't know if it's prog rock, I'm not sure. But it's that thing where it's not a funny song, so much it's got some really nice sort of weird guitar riff in it. And I was drawn to it when I bought the album. And I was like, oh, this isn't silly, this is actually quite good.
Okay, good. So we'll let the listeners judge. This is the Goodies with Taking You Back. Whoops. There we go. Never mind. That was the Goodies with Taking You Back.
Yeah, you can hear Bill Oddie really going for it there. So not something you say about him every day, but I met them actually. I met Graham, Tim, and Bill at the Prince Charles Theatre. They were doing a DVD launch of their one of their episode-y things of the Goodies, and basically I was in the queue of come and sign this and talk to me, that sort of thing. But unfortunately, I couldn't afford the book that they just brought out or the DVD they brought out. But what I did have was my Goodies album that I may have bought for like 48 pence, many years before, So I handed it over, and they said, "Oh, hello," and I was like, "Oh, it's really great to meet you guys." And that sort of. I was looking like I was going to have a lovely conversation with them, and they looked at me and went, "You're not Suzanne Smith from Colchester, are you?" I was like, "No, I'm not." So and it was very, very awkward. Quite clearly, they thought I just bought some bit of tat, and I was like, "No, I really like the album. It's really, really awesome." And they didn't even say that. But what I did discover was that the Trandom, the little 3-seater thing that they zoom around on, I used to have my own little bike when I used to do a paper round, and I used to pop the paper down, and there used to be a Trandom just there in Belsham St Paul, where I used to live. And someone said, "Oh yeah, that belongs to Goodies." And I was like, "No, it doesn't. No, don't be so ridiculous." Yeah. So when I met them, I said, "Oh, by the way, I told them what I just told you." Yeah. And they paused and went, "Yeah, I think we sold our Trandom to somebody in Suffolk in a Belsham St Paul." I was like, "Oh, that's great." I told those people I wasn't a liar. And the thing is, I'd not mentioned to them that someone thought I was fibbing. So they just thought I was this mad guy who just went, "I'm not a liar. I told you." Yeah. So they were quite bemused. But the interesting thing watching them was that basically Tim and Graham were on one side of the stage and Bill was on the other.
Right.
And they were very anecdotal and very, very funny. And it was a bit of a surprise that they showed up. I'm not sure whether I've mentioned this before, but when they did they showed the episodes, and somebody from the League of Gentlemen showed up and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Goodies." And we went, "Yay." And he went, "No, the Goodies." We went, "Yeah, the Goodies. Yeah, we're clapping. Yeah, we can't clap anymore, right?" And he's like, "No, over there." And we thought they were just going to wander in and say hi, hello, and walk off. And they went, "No." And they did a full 45 minutes worth of funny bits and funny this, and somebody won a prize. And it was so nice. And I think they are releasing, if someone wants to buy me this for Christmas, the entire episodic 80 episodes of the Goodies rammed into a box set. I think that's going to be released by Network. I've sold out already now. I'm doing adverts already for stuff. Go and buy me that. It's really expensive, don't. But the whole episode, so I'm looking forward, because I've not seen all of them, so I'm looking forward to it. And I think, it's about time they were sort of reappreciated. The other things get shown all the time, and I think the Goodies, ones I've seen on DVD, are very, very funny and a little bit naughty.
But yeah, I enjoyed the Goodies when I was a kid. I mean, I must admit I haven't watched them for since I was probably
it's quite grown up and quite political and satirical in places. You think, I can't believe they just did that episode about South Africa, which is quite amusing. I can't tell you. Can I tell you about it?
No, you can't. I'll tell you what, go and let people. Oh, you can tell me about it off air. Yeah, yes. Other people can find out for themselves. Right, I'm going to change the tune, the topic slightly, because some people may know there's a World Cup on at the moment.
Is there some sort of
footballing World Cup
related game?
Well, no, I happen to like football, but I've only seen one match so far, and that was last night.
I thought you meant in your entire life. I like football. I've only seen one match.
No, not in my entire life. In the World Cup so far, and that was the Spain-Portugal game last night, which was absolutely brilliant. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because I played Colourbox in the first hour of the show, and in 1986, Colourbox released this song. It's called the official Colourbox World Cup theme. Yeah, the one being... oh, dear me, hold on, I've just eaten a crisp. It's gone down the wrong way.
Goodness,
that was dying.
That was very exciting. I was worried because he could just keel over, and I'm stuck.
You're stuck doing the show.
I do want to get on the future radio. That would be great. I did my people's playlist this week, but for a minute, Russell just was changing colour. And you've got a gig tonight as well. You've got the Intellectual Hooligans thing.
I have indeed, and they just have to pick me up and prop me up in the corner, and even after death, I'd do something amusing.
I know what they do. They sort of just blow in your ears and move your mouth around, and like some sort of weird Russell puppet. That I really wish I hadn't just thought in my head now.
Weird Russell.
That's puppet. The strangest.
It's in your head.
It's in everybody's head now.
Yeah, good. Right. Next, your next track. This is Tiny Tim.
It is. It's again a person I came quite late to, who seemed to have nicked my haircut from 20 years ago. A very tall chap with very long hair.
Hence the nickname Tiny, as in kind of
ironic,
like Little John or whatever.
And like he basically I discovered him via SpongeBob, basically, but this is not the song that was in the first ever episode of SpongeBob. This is a very peculiar song by Tiny Tim, which starts off with him doing some very weird cackling and laughing. And then it goes on to this semi-apocalyptic, I want to say, celebration of the fact that the world has been flooded. Let's just say, there's a lovely video of him doing this on YouTube to lots of children. It's like he's doing this whole
kiddies,
thing. We're all going to die in this massive flood. And because it's done in such a jaunty fashion, it's quite an interesting thing. So seek it out and just put it's The Other Side by Tiny Tim video. And it is part of a light entertainment show. And there he is surrounded by these children singing this song that we're all going to drown.
Okay, brilliant.
But it's fun.
Here we go. Well, there you go. All the world is drowned. Oh, blimey, it hasn't finished yet.
Sorry about
birds.
that.
That's all right, it's my fault.
The birds are singing. The birds are singing.
The birds are singing. Sheep are playing in New Order. Birds are singing on Tiny Tim. So Tiny Tim, for those of us who don't know much about Tiny Tim, do you know much about Tiny Tim?
No, I'm one of those people who knows very little about Tiny Tim, apart from the fact that he isn't tiny and he is called Tim. But
no, he's not called Tim. I just checked his real name.
What's his real name then?
Oh, God, I found it on...
He's showing off now,
I found it on Wikipedia. Here we go. Herbert Buckingham Cowrie.
Yeah, and he basically became famous, I think, for a cover of Tiptoe Through the Tulips with his big falsetto or little falsetto singing voice. Basically, he would appear on light entertainment shows of the 60s, totally not what people expected. He'd be this massive 6-foot person with weird hair, a bit like myself in the 90s. And he'd come out and do all this sort of peculiar songs. And as I said, there's a lovely video of him doing that on this light entertainment show to some very bemused children going, we thought this was a happy song about fish. And it's like, no, it's a happy song about get your arcs out. I think the floods are coming. Yeah, and the icebergs are melting. Actually, I read a thing about it where he was actually saying, no one was talking about ecological things. I thought the only way of doing this was to actually make a very peculiar song and get it out there in the consciousness. And hopefully 40 years later we might try to start gluing the icebergs back together again or whatever it is.
So it reminds me in that sense of Tom Lahiry's Will All Go Together. Have you heard that?
Yeah, oh yes.
Yeah.
One of those sort of things. So basically, I think I know about him because of the first episode of SpongeBob SquarePants and his song "Living in the Sunshine," playing in the moonlight, whatever it is. Not that song. Basically, there's a very weird montage of SpongeBob SquarePants sort of brushing his eyes with his toothbrush. Anarchic fun things. And I'm like, oh, what's the song that's playing? Oh, Tiny Tim, you say?
True.
And I sort of looked into it, and basically I've become obsessed. And the album called God Bless Tiny Tim is produced by the chap who did the first ever Captain Beefheart album. So it wasn't Captain Beefheart producing it.
It was the chap who produced Captain Beefheart.
And you can tell because it's got some really nice little psychedelic touches to what should be just sort of standard little sort of fun little jaunty novelty songs.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Wonderful. Okay, right. I'm going to play a couple of tracks and then we'll play out with your last track. How does that sound?
Well, okay, my last track is a bit dark and scary.
Yeah, I know, but we'll play out with that. I'm going to play a couple more tracks before we do that.
Yep.
First up, it might even be one track. I'm just wasting time. Here we go. This is the Soft Boys. He's a reptile. And that unfortunately brings us to the end of the show. Thank you very much to Elliot for being on.
That's all right. It was a pleasure to do things, and here I am doing it.
And here you are doing it. And we've got one more track to play from you to play us up to the news. And what have we got?
This is the B-side of Superfly Guy by S Express.
Brilliant.
You said make it short.
And it is short.
Yes.
And it's called Theme from Funk Killer. Have a good weekend.